So this is the Economic Development Commission meeting of April 29th, 2024, and the time is about 4 minutes after 4 p.m. And this has been posted per the open door law.
Yep.
And we start off with roll call. So Tim, you want to?
Present, Tim Hakey.
Cheryl Munson, present.
And Kurt Zorn, present. And
Jane Cooper Smith, staff.
Heather Lacey's staff.
we have nobody else in the room other than. Okay, so we're going to hold on the approval of minutes because we want to do some work on those. So we'll do that at our next meeting.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So we're ready to move. We have no old business, so we're going to move to new business. And I am going to turn it over to Jane to sort of take us through the new business.
Well, it's great that we have 2 of our 3 new members. So we're going to do a little overview of the abatement guidelines and then the review and approval process. So that's kind of what happens at the front end of an abatement. And then the compliance process, which is what we're starting today. So I included our tax abatement program general standards. And then you'll note that I included just information on one tax abatement today. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So the program description really talks about why we have tax abatements. We use them to incent the sorts of development that we want to attract in the city of Bloomington. And this is the document that spells out what types of development we can support. This document ties our abatement program to Indiana State Code, which really sets the parameters on the abatement program and determines or defines the type of compliance reporting we must do. And it sets the process as well. So for a project to be eligible, it has to be designated as an economic revitalization area or an ERA. And the ERA is important because it really sets the but-for case for the abatement. So that means that the city doesn't want to offer an abatement for a project that would otherwise happen without the support. But if it's located within an ERA and it wouldn't happen but for the co-investment of the city in the project, then we know that it could be considered for tax abatement. So if it passes that requirement, then we can look at the review criteria. So for the city of Bloomington, the first key is that we have a capital investment as an enhancement to the tax base. We have to have an increase in taxes owed, otherwise we wouldn't have anything to abate. We want to increase full-time permanent living wage jobs. So capital investment and jobs are a requirement. And then we can have either an increase to the wages. So thinking about, Cheryl, that enhanced semiconductor, those wages were really high. So
Absolutely.
that would have hit the mark here as well. So increase in wages or creation of affordable housing units. So those are the big banners that we want to hit. And then this lists other, requirements that it has to be within the city of Bloomington, UDO, and located within current areas of economic
Jane,
development
can I ask a
focus. Yeah,
clarification?
go for it.
With the creation of capital investment, the enhanced tax base, that's clear. I thought it was one of the 3 as opposed to the first one and then one of the next 2.
You're correct. Sorry, because
good.
it's semicolon
Yeah,
or.
Yes.
So I apologize.
I didn't mean to correct you. I just it's what I had recalled from previous years.
Yeah. So capital investment period, and one of the following.
Okay.
An increase to full-time, so an increase in jobs, an increase in wages, or the creation of housing units.
Thank you.
That's important.
That might be nice to add eventually.
Yeah, there were quite a few things in here where I was like, I had a hand in this update, and it's still.
I think we need an and before 1, 2, 3.
Yes, yeah. That would help.
Or maybe something at least one of the next, of the following.
And one of the
three.
following.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
That would be
make it crystal
It
clear.
would be.
Additional evaluative criteria. So these are the more qualitative factors. So quality of life and environmental sustainability. So we name some of the sustainability documents here, but they continue to evolve. Sean Mia, our Assistant Director for Sustainability, is working on a climate resilience plan. So when we think of sustainability, we have climate action, which is really built environment, greenhouse gas reduction, and then resilience is really what are we doing for the humans so that they can better make it through these changes in climate change. Affordable housing, which we don't have to say too much about. This is one of the tools that we put on the table for affordable housing development. The next two are a little more nebulous. Community service, so volunteerism and civic engagement, such as serving on and working on boards, commissions, and foundations in the Bloomington community, and community character. A project that preserves and/or enhances the unique character of the city of Bloomington. Some of you may know character can be a bad word when we're looking at community development or real estate development in particular. That's one of the words that was used to defend redlining when it happened originally. So in this case, hi Isak, character is really referring to like arts projects and the positive attributes of Bloomington. We're just going over some of the
I'm totally on board. Go ahead.
the parameters for our program. Okay, this just defines what's ineligible. I don't think we need to really go over that. It's in the code. And then we get into application procedure and review. So the statement of benefits is the first document that's filed. It's a pretty fundamental piece of information for the abatement. From the statement of benefits, we kind of build the rest of our application, the proposal that we put together. EDC reviews applications and then makes a recommendation to the Common Council, and the Common Council has the ultimate ability to approve or deny. They review abatement proposals or applications over 2 meetings. So they'll have, I never remember which goes first. It's like a designating and then authorizing, or vice versa. But they have 2 resolutions that they'll go through before approving an abatement. And really in the council's resolutions, that's where they set out those evaluative criteria, and they'll set the terms there. So the state's reporting or compliance documents only talk about jobs and capital investment, but the city council resolutions will talk about housing units and whatever other projects are in there. So we kind of have to look at everything when we're talking about compliance.
So I have a question there.
Yep.
Does the applicant offer what they would want to provide when they fill out the application?
Do they offer what they're asking for a tax abatement? Do they offer what their
criteria for evaluation would be?
Well, I think that sort of sifting happens on the staff level. So we receive applications for abatement. If we don't think that they're realistic or hit any of the review criteria or evaluative criteria, they don't come your way.
But let's say Corporation X wishes an abatement for something, and they want to create 200 new high-paid jobs. Is this put forward as part of their application?
It would be.
It would be, okay.
I mean, yes, if I'm understanding.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to see how this parallels with the county, and it's a little different.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be curious to learn more about that as well.
The county doesn't do anything for housing, do they?
Not yet.
So.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. Yeah, so the ERA is the first resolution, and then the declaratory resolution designates that.
Okay.
usually we do these together. And then the final document, so the council resolutions are really, the city council is announcing what they are willing to approve. And then the MOA, the memorandum of agreement, is important because that's the actual document between the recipient of the abatement and the city of Bloomington about how it's going to go and what the terms are going to be. So that kind of gets us through that front end of the process. Then the abatement's approved, then the recipient of the abatement, the taxpayer, will file their first CF1 when they're ready to kick off the term of the abatement. That kicks off the compliance process. So CF is Compliance Form 1. They file that with the council office and the Department of ESD, and I believe they file a form with the county as well. And this form it's really simple, and it just lays out, here's what you expected your capital investment to be, here's what you expected your jobs to be, here's what your capital investment was, here's what the jobs are, here's what the pay rates are, and you attest, the property owner attests to that information. It's pretty straightforward. So non-compliance occurs when the designating bodies determine that the property owner has not made reasonable efforts to comply with the statement of benefits. So the CF1 really only looks at those review criteria, but we talked about the evaluative criteria. So we kind of have to talk about that in parallel to reviewing the compliance forms, I guess is all I'll say there. I know this is really exciting. Then these are just examples of things that we could abate.
May I ask a question, Jen?
Yeah.
Here at the compliance.
Yeah.
So today we're going to look at a project that promised 99 years of affordability and some units, but we have a 10-year benefit. What happens in year 12 if they discontinue compliance?
So we requested 99 years of the workforce housing rates in the,
That's my understanding.
yeah. I kind of want to check on that. Do you have the MOA handy? Hi. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Someone's saying that they can't get into the Zoom meeting.
Oh, that would be my fault.
That's what they're saying, but
I'm a one-woman show today.
I don't see anybody there, but
So I don't either, but it's been weird. Let me.
If you pull down the participants, does it give you any?
it should there. Maybe it should say waiting list or something like that.
Let me
It's
stop
just a
share,
waiting room.
and I think I can do
Yes,
it.
I'm waiting.
Are they?
They say, "Is the Zoom link working? I've been in the waiting room for 20 minutes."
Who is it? Or no, it doesn't matter who it is.
Kiwanis, Indiana Balloon Fest.
Oh, that's Vanessa.
That's Vanessa.
And she's in the link from boards and commissions. Why don't I just?
Yeah, maybe just forward her the link again. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Apologies, everyone. Ugh. This is my first meeting I've run since I've been back, so perhaps I'm a little rusty.
We're a good group to run a first meeting with, really.
It would seem that way.
Nobody bites.
Okay, I'm just trying to get to the meeting and
Get to
to different.
If it hasn't made a Zoom mistake, raise your hand.
Exactly,
Oh,
exactly.
right. Also, it's a strange pressure when you're running the meeting and also presenting.
It is.
It really, it genuinely is.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel.
It's probably too much.
And keeping
Yeah.
your eye out for somebody who's needing to be admitted, that's just.
It is.
All right, let's try that.
Were you able to send it to?
Well, I think so. I mean, I hope it's the right link. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but. Okay. So will you all help me keep an
Yeah,
eye to
yeah,
see if
keep
any
those on,
notifications
sorry.
come up? Okay, thank you. So did we get to that answer? So I wanted to look at the MOA.
This
Or
is-
you
you
have
want
it?
this? So I do think that there are provisions in the MOA for what happens when you're beyond the abatement period, but still within the terms of the agreement, and that is outlined on beginning on page 5. But generally what happens is that if it's determined that they're not in compliance, then it goes back to the council, and the council would consider a resolution, and then the developer then has an opportunity to either address or appeal that resolution that addresses the non-compliance.
So
So beginning on page 5, paragraph.
What are you?
So they would have to, they would be on the hook to repay.
I'm on the page 5 of the memorandum of agreement.
And they
Okay.
don't, I didn't include that with the
Yeah, we
document,
don't have
but I'm happy to.
it. No, it really could wait for
Yeah.
later. Or just-
So it's a clawback is
Yeah.
effectively what it is.
And I
So
think
they,
the clawback can be outside of the abatement itself.
Yeah,
Correct.
must be.
Is what
That's the
we're
question.
saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Because 99 years is a long time. 10 years of abatement is not.
Right.
Yeah, that,
sorry, writing with Vanessa. Okay, so that's compliance. And I think on compliance, we can recommend a finding of non-compliance, substantial compliance, or compliance period. And then if we found something non-compliant, then council could have a range of options for how to handle that, which I can't remember exactly, Heather, from our conversation earlier, but they can kill the abatement. It can sit, and the filer would just not receive a tax benefit that year. Or they can,
There's a third option.
yeah, where it's, they can maybe be allowed to make, refile.
Right.
so there's a 10-year period for the abatement.
It depends on the
Or
abatement.
it depends, okay, but let's say, for example, 10
Yeah.
years. And might that also have a 99-year
So-
compliance expectation?
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
so the specific example is if they're receiving an abatement for workforce housing, right? They're gonna have X number of workforce housing units that they're going to have available for a term of 99 years. But the abatement is only for the 10 years. So they're getting a tax benefit for the 10 years.
Right.
They have to be in compliance for that first 10 years where they're getting the abatement, but then they have to remain in compliance for the remainder of the 89 that are left.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
Do
lot.
they still file the CF1? I mean, how do we track that?
so I believe that that's tracked through the hands department. Am I right about that?
Well-
And they're continuing to file their compliance document.
Mm.
I don't think they're responsible for a CF1 beyond that 10-year period.
Well, I don't think it's the CF1. I think it's providing that information.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little experience with that.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree with both of you. We did a CF1 through the period,
Right,
and then we hand had a different process.
that's right.
Which they were pretty free to design and change over the years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think if you don't mind sending out one of the MOAs, and
Sure.
that would be interesting to understand.
I'm just surprised that the 99-year period is so long, especially when some of the criteria might be, 200 new jobs, and for a company to maintain those 200
Well,
jobs.
the 99-year period is really related. That was a Hamilton initiative for housing
Housing.
affordability.
Affordable housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's in the waiting room?
Oh,
So,
great.
yeah, and to that, it's possible to have certain things that are part of the abatement that run for one period of time,
And
and
then-
then the housing part of the agreement. runs
For another
the-
period, okay.
another period.
All of that could be spelled out in MOA.
And it should be spelled out in the MOA.
Yeah.
It should be spelled out both in the council's resolution and then also again in the MOA.
Can we pause for a second to
Yeah.
acknowledge that we have a full committee now and maybe
Yeah.
the other,
Hi, Vanessa. Sorry about your troubles getting in, but we're glad you're here. I'm trying to unmute you. Oh, you're muted, but I think you can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, it popped back up. So thank you. Yeah, I've been waiting. I don't know if I had the wrong link or what. So
I don't
thanks for
know.
letting me in.
So
I'm so sorry
Vanessa,
about that.
the good news is you're a returning member, so we're just going through the criteria for abatements. So I think you're probably pretty familiar with it since you had a hand in some of these.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. So these are project eligibility examples. I'm happy to walk through them if it's useful. If you'd rather keep on moving, I'm happy to do that too.
If anybody has any questions or wants any clarification, please state. If not, go.
Okay. There's more detail on compliance that gets into the weeds of who's communicating with whom and what the timing is like. Okay, so this is maybe familiar looking to some of you. This is part of the slide deck that we'll share with council when we do the review of the annual abatement program. And again, it goes over responsibilities. Economic Development Commission recommends, Common Council authorizes, county administers. Our general standards significantly, capital investment as an enhancement to the tax base, an increase in jobs, increase in wages, or addition of affordable housing units. Is that true? The review criteria adopted in 2023 to acknowledge affordable housing projects. I think we did that in 22 because we did that when I was here.
I think we did a little
Yeah.
earlier in 2023.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of work we could do to evolve our guidelines, frankly. And I think I could get excited about thinking about how to have a more useful and dynamic document that would maybe serve as a better launching point for developers. Not sure. Okay, compares overview of compliance review process, compares original commitments from the SB1 to self-reported results in the CF1. Taxpayer submits that annual form with county auditor, city clerk. Council is given ESD the responsibility to compile and report to the Economic Development Commission, and then EDC forwards final report to council for any action. I think this has been discussed, so I feel like I'm just going to keep on moving. This again is talking about the layers that we can phase in the property taxes at different scales and degrees. And then, so we have one tax abatement to consider today, and as we kind of talked about before the meeting, it's unusual for us to only look at a single tax abatement. Usually we look at all of the active tax abatements together and then make a single recommendation to Common Council. But because we had an early filer this year, it set off a 45-day time period during or before the end of which we had to conduct our compliance reporting.
So Jim, what you're saying is the code basically says that once it's submitted, we have 45 days to review and approve
And normally,
or take action.
normally we can do it. There's 45 days from the first filer. Usually there's enough time to get it all done in 45 days, but this time there wasn't because we haven't received all of the CF1s yet.
So the 45 days, does that include the city council as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their action.
And we'll go there, we'll visit on Wednesday.
And you say we usually have them due May 15th, and human nature suggests that most of them submit close to the May
Right,
15th. And in this
yeah.
case, we have one that submitted 45 days
Yes.
outside of the 45 days.
And you'll learn there's a reason why they were motivated. But normally we will review at EDC sometime in early June and make it to council before they go to recess. So this abatement is a residential, residential real property abatement. It's Urban Station, which is of course known to all of us as the Chocolate Mousse Building. It has a couple street addresses, and the designating and authorizing resolutions are 1611 and 1612, so we know it was from 2016. It's a 4-story mixed-use building with 7,000 square feet of commercial space and 148 bedrooms. The public benefit, so the reason they were asking for their abatement, is that they would retain no fewer than 15 bedrooms, would be allocated to households with incomes at or below 80% of the AMI. Rent for the affordable units may not exceed 85% of the market rate. Okay, so actually, I think there's a mistake in here. So it's 80 to 120 AMI, I believe. But regardless, it's not to exceed 85% of the market rate. And there's also a clause that says, or CPI increases over the base rates of $641 for a 1-bedroom or $1282 for a 2-bedroom.
And those are 2016 rates?
Those are 2016 rates, and then on the next slide I show you the rates with CPI increases. So the development status, it's complete, obviously, and staff does recommend that we find them compliant. And you can kind of see why here. So the CPI rate increase would be $807.66 for a 1-bedroom over the base rate, or $1,615 for the 2-bedroom rate over that $1,282 base rate. So this table is pretty useful, and I talked with the Urban Station folks to make sure I was understanding what the different lines mean. So each item on the left-hand column is a different floor plan. All of the A units are 1-bedroom, all the B units are 2-bedroom, and then C and D go up from there. The WFH represents workforce housing, so those are the affordable units. So when we compare the percentage rate as a percentage of market, we're comparing, for example, the rate it was leased at, which for A1 workforce housing is $725. We're comparing that to the market rate rent for a 1-bedroom unit at Urban Station, which is $1495. So you can see they've actually reduced much greater than that 85% in all cases. They're renting a total of 14 bedrooms instead of 15. So that's the only snag, that they're not up to that 15 rate. But they were very forthcoming with data, and I don't see any reason to find them anything but compliant. They have met the terms of investment. So they promised $11,500,000 on their SB1. They made that investment on their CF1. They retained 10 jobs, and they retained the total salaries of $400,000. They created 5 new jobs, and they attest that they retained those jobs. And then the new salaries were supposed to be a total of $165,000, and we can see that's increased slightly to $170,000. So we find them compliant in all of those categories. They're in year 7 of a 10-year abatement, and the rate of abatement is 30%. So we're abating 30% of their taxes. I did want to note that they did not receive this abatement last year. They filed late, and the city did not find them, city staff did not recommend a finding of compliance because of that. And so I think they have really worked to dot T's and cross, dot I's and cross T's this year. So yeah, I'd be happy to take any additional questions about this abatement.
Can we go back to the rent table?
Yes, yeah.
How many units are we supposed to have that are
We're supposed to
Market
have 15 bedrooms.
15 bedrooms?
So they're renting 10 units. And then
And then you have to find the bedrooms.
you have to find the bedrooms. So we know that these are all worth 1 and these are all worth 2.
Okay.
Oh, I think I miscounted, right?
2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See,
Yeah.
I count.
How did
Oh,
I
no,
get
there are
to-
2 units. There are 2 units
So those are
of 2 bedrooms, right? So that's B1 WFH would be 4 bedrooms, right?
Right.
4.
4 bedrooms. B3 W is 4. And then we have
12. Oh, maybe they
12,
are
13,
there.
14, 15. No, they're 15.
They're 15, okay.
No, I wasn't reading it correctly.
Yeah, well, obviously I thought they were at 14, so
Yeah, I'm seeing 15 too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah,
So they're just compliant on all
Yeah.
fronts.
And I was having trouble
I just
reading
have
the
a
table. So.
question.
Yeah, Vanessa.
Yes, I just wondered, do we know why they filed late last year?
We do not know. I wasn't here, and Dee unfortunately is out of town. But I think they didn't have a justification for it, and so I think that the city was really unwilling to extend an abatement. And it may be that they were also not compliant with their housing, with their workforce housing. So I apologize for not reviewing that. I'll get that together before Wednesday, though.
Okay, thank you.
Just a point of clarification, so they get a 10-year abatement, but they need to come back each year to get it extended?
No, to show that they're in compliance.
To show they're in
so they can
compliance,
continue
okay.
to get.
Okay, so last year they had to pay taxes, but the clock still ticks on the 10 years.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Last year because they're in the 6th year, they probably would have gotten 40% abatement. I think this is
Right.
probably a straight line
Right.
Yeah.
abatement.
I think that the term
Yeah, I think it was in the
here.
terms there. It's a step ladder down.
Yeah,
No,
so that it was
it's a
30.
It's a 30. Okay, so it wasn't a straight line.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Oh, thanks for putting that table together. That was very helpful.
Yeah, well, it was Urban Station. They
No, that was very helpful.
shared it openly, so.
So we need to take actions, basically have a motion to say that Urban Station is
Yeah, I think
in compliance.
you should have a motion that recommends a finding of compliance to the Common Council. And Heather, do they need to have a formal resolution, or can they just make a motion at this meeting? And then we'll have a formal resolution when we recommend the whole packet of abatements.
I honestly don't know the
I think
answer to that
before we
question.
sign the resolution,
I
at the
think you
meeting.
have to have the resolution. Are you trying to get the resolution as part, you're just gonna do one resolution as a packet, but is that gonna put you beyond the time? So I think a resolution from this
this body.
has to go to the council.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I don't know if we
Last
just voted
year,
on it
this
or not.
happened last year too, and I talked with Stephen Lucas about it this morning. Sorry to have us.
I'm so sorry. Do you remember what
Yeah, so Stephen
Stephen said? Because
shared
that he would.
that he thought we just did one, that Alex presented to council, and then on June 14th, let's see, last year on June 14th, the council adopted a motion to hold the additional public hearing on New Urban Station's tax abatement. Oh no, that's about their compliance. Alex just provided a memo to council for the early filer.
And then
And then-
included them in the resolution for the, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the report's been done. In the past, we've done the full report and we've just voted on a motion to approve those. It was, all
Yeah.
those things were in compliance. Vanessa, do you recall, we didn't do anything in writing for that?
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
And I think part of why it's okay is that council doesn't really take an action unless it's non-compliant.
Okay.
Then they have to,
Okay.
then you have a choice to make. So in that case, the motion would be,
To recommend it to council.
to
To-
recommend a finding of
Of
compliance
Compliance
for the new
for
urban
new urban
station.
station.
Resolution 1611 and 1612.
Well, I don't think we have to name those.
No.
It's for the 2023 CF1.
This is the reason it's a little odd because we've always done it as a package before. We've never done a separate one. So I don't think, we're in a new area on
Okay.
this.
I think better in writing. So here's what I think the the motion could say. Move to recommend a finding of compliance for Urban Stations 2023 CF1.
Because that's effective.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
So we have a motion, we have seconds, and do we have any discussion?
I think we've already discussed.
I think we have two, but
Yes.
you're supposed to ask for discussion after the motions. So I always try to do it the right way.
Okay.
For your president.
That's right, that's right.
Power.
So why don't we, because we're on Zoom, we have a member on Zoom, why don't we do a roll call, please?
I think you have to take public comment.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, there's people out there, at least one from the BEDC. Any comment from the
Someone
public?
in the room behind you.
Anybody? Oh, from
No comment.
the comment, sorry.
Yeah.
You snuck in. so-
Yeah, no comments from me.
All right, no comments, so are we ready to vote? Well, yeah, we need to do a roll
Okay.
call
I
vote.
think
For me to
so.
name names. Okay, Vanessa McCleary,
Yes.
Tim Henke,
Yes.
Cheryl Munson,
Yes.
Kurt Zorn,
Yes,
and Isak Asari.
Yes.
Yay!
all right. Well,
Thanks, everyone.
to me, that sounds like unanimous.
Yeah,
Yes.
5 for 5, good.
and I think, that's all the business I had on
It's
the
all the new business. so
agenda.
A motion to adjourn then.
Anything else? Any other business?
Don't think so.
If not, this is fun. We're all 5 together.
Yeah.
We did.
Vanessa's half here.
She's smiling though.
Great to see you, Vanessa. All right. If
Good to
we
be here.
Thanks all.
if we
Thank
have
you.
no other business, then this meeting is adjourned.